Welcome to Business Smarts Radio with Tom and Dr. Dave, the clean approach to building your successful business. Now, let's introduce Tom Borg and Dr. Dave Miles. Welcome to Business Smarts Radio with Tom and Dr. Dave, where we bring you the clean approach to building your successful business. And when we're talking about clean, we're not talking about spigot and span and dust mops. We're talking about everything in this podcast has to do with clean, which is an acronym for communication, leadership, engagement,
and no drama.
Absolutely, and no drama. So today we're going to be talking about 3 proven methods to help your team work better together and to grow your company profits. So Tom, before we were talking at the beginning of this podcast, before we started recording, we were talking about just kind of laughing and joking about every
Mm-hmm.
organization has some degree of dysfunction.
That's correct.
So what can we do to kind of help people work better together or stop that and just give them some tips to make things run smoother?
Well, Mike, one of the things we talked about earlier, Dave, which I think might be a great suggestion for our listeners, is to look at their company, the people that are in that company, as part of a big jigsaw puzzle. And as you were saying in our previous conversation about how a jigsaw puzzle can be difficult to put together unless we have what?
Well, when we were talking, I love the analogy about the
Mhm.
jigsaw puzzle and people because you don't really, it's hard to see everything that's going on with
Mhm.
people, but it's really interesting because if you are trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together, a lot of times you just it's like not having the box. You know, you're trying to put the puzzle pieces together by just figuring the shapes and kind of looking and seeing if it fits okay. Where when you have some things that look at their behavioral styles or things that motivate them or their different skill levels, and you can kind
Mhm.
of gauge where there might be potentials for conflict and where your balance is on your team and
Mhm.
maybe some of the gaps and some of the strengths. It's almost like having the box there, and now you finally have the picture that you can go
Yeah.
with to be able
Picture
to
on the
put
box.
to be able to put those puzzle pieces together because it's all a mix of different styles, different behavioral styles and
Mhm.
personalities and different things that drive and motivate people, and it's
Mm.
hard to get those things together without that picture. It's kind of like being able to peek under the hood and kind of see what's going on underneath versus just
Mhm.
trying to put the pieces together just by matching
Absolutely.
them on your own without that map or without that picture to go by.
That's right. Well, that's what it's all about, is knowing your people. And sometimes, as we've talked about on our other podcast, sometimes we've got the right people on the bus, but they're not in the right seats. So we need to make sure that they're doing what they're best at. And that way the company's going to work together a lot smoother.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and to that point, one of the things we were talking about previously was you have somebody that comes in that you interview, and
Hmm.
they are just a great resume, wonderful skills. They do a fantastic job on the interview, and you're like, okay, this person is exactly who we need for this
Hmm.
job.
Right.
The bad part is they might have this one particular driving force that's just really overwhelming called harmonious, and they have to have it's all about creating this harmonious environment around them, the big
Hmm.
picture, kind of like a wedding planner. They see everything, they're trying to put it all
Mm.
together, but also as far as their office, they really have that need to have the people that had the beautiful office that had the pictures and the plants and the view out the window, and in that kind of environment they just thrive. But if you take that
Right.
same exact person, same skills, same everything, and you take them and you put them in a cubicle farm, they will die.
Mm.
That is just not
That's
the
right.
place for them. And you wonder why
Hmm.
6, 7, 8, 9 months later, wait a minute, this star performer that looked like it was going to be great is not happy and they're not doing well. Why is that? And that's
Hmm.
being able to see that picture so you can put the
Sure.
puzzle pieces together
Right.
is so
And
important.
alongside of that, Dave, with that business of whether the person, if they have a high harmonious level, that also means drama. They don't want a lot of drama in the office. They don't want a lot of this dysfunction that goes on. That can also drive them out of your company as well.
Very true, because on the flip end of that exact same spectrum, you have someone that's very objective. They can very easily focus on that one thing, and no matter what chaos is
Hmm.
going on around them, it's fine. They can still work
Hmm.
and focus on the task at hand, where it's
That's right.
super difficult for somebody with that high harmonious kind of driving force to really be able to
Hmm.
focus on their work when there's chaos and turmoil in the workplace. And unfortunately, how many times are people going to work and there is this chaos and dysfunction and
Oh
this
yeah, you betcha.
disorganization in there? So anything we can do to kind of make that go away or at least lessen it to the biggest degree possible is a huge help, and it
Hmm.
helps teams work together much
Exactly.
better. So there were three things that we looked at to help put the team together. So how about
Hmm.
start us off and tell us what the first one is?
Well, first one is to set the example of giving respect to each and every person on your team. So what I'm saying is, if you're the decision maker, the owner of the company, uh, they watch your walk a lot more than your talk. So if you are focused on building the right kind of company where people are going to come, be engaged, and want to stay, then
Right.
you want to give respect to the people that are in your organization on a regular basis. Now, I'm not talking about insincerity or flattery, but I'm talking about giving people respect for who they are, what they do. And it maybe is something as simple as acknowledging them when they come in the door in the morning, right? Or maybe walking around each person's area and checking in with them, how they doing, how the kids, how's the family, how's that sport they're participating in. What we're talking about here is giving respect and
Right.
really helping people feel important. Important. That's key. I believe that everybody today they have a they have an invisible tattoo on their head, and the letters are MMFI. Make me feel important, and that comes from just our basic human needs. But the fact is, if we recognize that everybody on our team has a desire to feel important, to feel respected, and just to go out of our way to make sure that that's part of our strategy for managing and leading, I think we're going to go a long ways into making our company the type of company where people want to come, work, be engaged, and stay.
No, I would agree with that 100% because if you think about it, nobody wants to work for somebody who is inauthentic, who just treats you bad, tears you down, doesn't give you the respect. If you're there to do a good job, and don't get me wrong, there are some people that just are there to skate by. I have worked with
Mm-hmm.
people that literally, and they going back to admit it, they work harder to get out of doing work than they would if they just done
Sure.
it in the first place. So taking those exceptions aside, most people in the
Right.
workplace, they want to do a good job, they want to be productive, they want to be efficient, and like you said, they want to be recognized for that. And that's
Mm-hmm.
one of the most important things when you're talking about improving an organization. That's why I love the lean process improvement so much, because one of the key tenets is giving that deference to the people that are doing the job. It's not the person in
Mm-hmm.
the C suite, it's not the person in the corner office who knows the best all the time. It's the people that are doing the job, and by default, giving them that respect that they deserve,
Mm-hmm.
saying, hey, you know how you do the job every day. Help us
Mm-hmm.
figure out a better way to do it. I mean, how to me
Yes.
that's powerful. And it goes a long way
Asking
to
for input.
asking for input, and it goes a long way to getting things improved quicker and more efficiently, but also hits what you're talking about as far as that respect for them as well.
Mm-hmm.
You're respecting the fact that they own that process, they do that work every day, and
Right.
they're the experts in that because that's what they do.
Yes. Well, Dave, one more thing I want to add to that. To our listeners that are trying to pick up some ideas on how to run a better business is they don't have to be, you don't have to be the smartest person in the room in your business. Matter of
Mm.
fact, if you're smart, you've hired a lot of other people who are more intelligent than you are. They're good at what they're doing. You do what you're good at. But what we're saying here is you don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to be the person that comes in and try to downplay any feedback or suggestions that they might be getting from their team. So what I'm saying is be open to listening to your team members, implement those ideas that are good ones, and you'll see people get more engaged and buy into the process.
No, I would agree with that
Yeah.
100%. And you talked about before the episode is
Mm-hmm.
that you had a quote from Earl Nightingale that I really liked, and you said that Earl Nightingale had said one time that to treat each person that you talk to as if they're the most important person on earth. And
Mm-hmm.
when you do that, that you bring out of that person uh, the willingness to communicate back with you because you are giving them that respect and you are making them feel important.
Yes, and what does that look like? I'll tell you what it looks like. When the person walks into the room, you focus on them. You listen to them. You talk to them. You watch their eyes. You don't keep pecking away at your keyboard, or pick up a phone, or start texting somebody. Yeah, doing one of those numbers. People,
Hold on. Hold on.
yeah, you got
I'll
to
get
do
back
that.
to you
Okay,
in a second.
sure. Our listeners will really appreciate that, Dave.
You're right. It's exactly. We do it so many times we don't even think about it, and that's
Yep,
just one of those things to be more intentional and to be more deliberate about being present with somebody when we're there.
exactly. Exactly. So if we can do that, that's the first key that we want to zero in on.
That sounds great. Well, how about the second? What would you talked about? Three proven methods to help your team work better together. What is the second one?
Well, the second one is what I call praise pays. So it's important to praise the team, praise your individual employees when they're doing a good job. Like Ken Blanchard used to say, catch them doing something right and let them know about it. Let the rest of your organization know about the great job they did on this particular assignment. You can do it in front of the person, or you can do it when they're not there. You can brag about them when they're not there, but praise pays. I think that's so important. I think as we talked to these topics we're talking about today, we're going to expand them into individual podcasts in the future. We're going to just hit on the top three today. Uh,
Okay,
but like I said, let me spend a little time with this one here on praise.
sure.
So what I like to think about, there's a formula that Dale Carnegie came out with when it comes to praising people. Well, first off, let's go back to the beginning. When it comes to praise, some people say, well, you mean you want me to compliment my employees, compliment my team members? Yes, that's a pretty good way to put it. But the first question I always have for my audiences when I'm doing a program on this topic, I'll ask them, how many people here get too many compliments? And of course, nobody raises their hand unless some smart guy raises his hand. But fact is, most people don't. So I'll ask the question, well, why don't you? And they go, well, the point is that we probably don't get a whole lot of them because we don't give a whole lot of them, right? But what goes even beyond that is, why don't people give other people compliments? Well, there's some fears, built-in fears. One is, if I praise somebody, they might expect me. Uh, they might expect they're thinking that we're going to expect them to do something for us later. Like we're praising them, we're trying to build them up so that we want to get something out of them. Well, no, that's not what you want to do with that approach. So the idea is, that's a fear people have. I don't want to give out compliments because people think I'm just patronizing them.
Right.
Okay, so that's a fear. Second thing is, they're afraid that the people might not accept it. They might reject the compliment. And we see this happen all the time. Like out on the golf course, right? You're out there with your buddies out there, and everyone's whacking that ball down the fairway on the tee there, and you'll say to somebody, "Hey, that was a great shot," and invariably someone says, "Oh, I was just lucky. Had my eyes closed. Wait till the next one." So these are things that we've somehow been conditioned to think, well, it's not good to accept a compliment. It's like, whoa, that's the next worst thing. Next thing to bragging. It's when you accept a compliment. So we got to get rid of these misconceptions or these preconceived notions about this business of praising other people. So first, you've got to understand it's perfectly okay to praise another person, and if you do it in the right way, which we're going to talk about, you'll do it where the person actually appreciates that compliment that you've given to them, or that praise that you've bestowed upon them.
Gotcha. Now you talked about that there was a two-part formula that you had come up with that you had really like to use with your clients.
Hmm.
And how about you want to go into that and kind of
Yes.
tell the listeners what the
Absolutely. So oftentimes people say, well, what do you praise about another? What can you praise about another person or an employee? Well, here's a formula. It's called the TAP formula. So the T, that's the acronym. T stands for things they own. Maybe a car they own, maybe the clothes that they're wearing, these sorts of things. So things that they own. Or whether they drive it or they wear it, whatever. So A, that's the second one of the
okay.
TAP formula. So that would be achievements, things they've accomplished. Maybe it's a diploma that's hanging on their wall there. Maybe it's a family. They got a picture of their family at their desk there. That's an accomplishment. That's an achievement. Or maybe it's the fact that they were able to receive some type of an honor or a distinguished award for something. Not just a diploma, but an award for some type of service they provided. So that would be A. So T, things they own, that sort of thing. A,
Right.
achievements. P is the last one, and that's for personal qualities. So things like, are they enthusiastic? Are they a hard worker? Are they somebody that they just really make people feel better when they come into the room? Like you've heard the old story where, you know, how some people can just make a whole room feel great, or they can brighten up a whole room by leaving it. You know what I mean? That's just the opposite of what you'd expect. So, personal, what we're talking about, qualities that this person has, traits or
Right.
characteristics that make them somebody special. And now here's the key. So those are the things we could compliment about another person. I take it a step further. Now I'm going to give you another acronym. I call it the
Okay.
SES acronym. So
Okay.
once you figure out what you want to compliment about the other person, the S is going to stand for you got to be sincere. So when you give that compliment, be sincere.
Okay.
So don't just say in a way that sounds patronizing. So second is give some evidence. Give a little. People can't deny if it's solid evidence. Um, and I'll give you an example of that in just a second. So
Okay.
the third part of it is keep it short. So again, be sincere, give evidence, keep it short. The reason is you don't want to go on and on with a compliment is people are going to get more and more uncomfortable with it, and you're going to be more and more uncomfortable giving it. So just give the
Mhm.
compliment, you know, be sincere, keep it short, and then move on to something else. Change the subject. But
Okay.
go back to this business of the evidence. So be specific. For instance, like if you're out on the golf course, somebody hits a drive down the fairway straight as an arrow. You might say to the person, "Hey, Joe, that was a great shot. I like the way it went right down the fairway and missed those trees on the right and the pond on the left."
Gotcha. So it's not just, "Ooh, great job, Sparky.
Yeah.
Woohoo!" Yeah, it shows that you've actually paid attention to what you're
Yes.
giving the compliment on, and
That's
taking
right.
that little extra bit of depth into it than just
Yeah.
saying, "Good job, good job."
Exactly, exactly. Or if
Gotcha.
you said to someone at the office, you say something like, "You did a great job on that project last week." Well, that's one thing. But if you said it, you know, I really liked the way you handled that project last week. It was a difficult assignment. I liked the way you were able to overcome those obstacles that came up at the last minute. Keep up the good work.
Cool.
Boom, done.
Something very specific about it makes it
Mm-hmm.
makes it easy.
Exactly. So that would cover the section I wanted to talk about in terms of praising. Just got to understand that people have some built-in fears about praising other people, or at the same time, they might feel a little singled out if they get a compliment. And of course, the simplest way to accept a compliment, just simply say thank you, right? So there's how to give one. We just talked about how to get one. Just say thank you and move on.
Good deal. And the third one we're going to talk about today is never to criticize your
Mm,
employees or managers in front of
yes.
others. So expound on
Somebody,
that.
yeah, somebody once said, any fool can criticize, and most fools do. So what we're saying is, why criticize when it's only going to make the other person defensive? Typically, you know, there's a word out there called constructive criticism. Kind of funny when you think about it. How can you build something up and tear it down at the same time? So maybe you want to say instructional feedback. That might be better. But what we're saying is, stay away from that for right now. We're talking about when you're wanting to uh, stay away from criticism. It just, you can always ask questions about what went wrong. Maybe ask them why they were doing what they were doing. Ask them if they're open-minded to any other alternative approaches to trying to do what they were trying to do what they weren't able to succeed at. So what we're saying is, stay away from criticizing. If you need to give instructional feedback, do it tactfully, right?
Right.
And don't do it in front of everybody else. You know, pull the person on the side, do it privately. People have egos. They don't want to be embarrassed. And if you do it the right way, you'll be able to give that person an opportunity to learn how to improve and be motivated to want to follow through on those suggestions that you're giving to them.
Nice. So the cool thing is all of them are good common sense ideas that we all know before. You gave us a couple things as far as the
Mm-hmm.
TAP acronym or SES,
Mm-hmm.
and I like those, but everything there is it's not something new. It's just a great reminder of things that we already know and how to put them all together in a package
Yes.
and be able to just kind of remind ourselves these are important things that we need to implement and
Yes.
continue to go on a regular basis.
Dave,
So
and remember one thing, oftentimes common sense is uncommonly used, and that's important to recognize that. Sometimes we assume it's something everybody knows about, but I think somebody once said, knowing To know and not to do is not to really know.
Very true. It's kind of like it's simple. A lot of these are very simple,
Hmm.
not easy.
That's right.
It's
And we got to make it part of your wheelhouse, part of your toolbox that you're going to use as a leader in your organization, and you'll go a lot further.
yep. And sometimes I think even on that aspect is looking at setting a goal for yourself on, okay, if I'm trying to build this as a new habit,
Hmm.
maybe today I'm just happy to give one sincere compliment
That's
to
all it
somebody
takes.
I'm and I'm gonna have to look at the TAP acronym, what are some of the
Hmm.
things they own or driver wear, nice shoes, great
Hmm.
tie, really like how the
Hmm.
Paisleys are or something to that effect. What,
Yeah.
some of the achievements, hey, great job winning the listing agent of the month last month or
Hmm.
something to that effect. Or I said something specifically about their personal qualities, their traits or habits or values, which is awesome. But
Hmm.
being sincere about that, but just setting a goal of maybe just one. Just if I get one today, I'm good. I'm solid. I met my
That's
goal.
right.
And then I do one tomorrow and do one tomorrow, and I get the streak going. And after I've done it a week or two, maybe I'll raise it to two separate people that
Sure.
I'll give compliments to, and just start to build up that way. And I
Hmm.
think that's a good way to just don't feel like you have to go head first into the deep end of the pool and start everything at once. It's just like simple but not easy. Like
That's
it's
right.
just like losing weight. Everybody knows you eat less, you exercise more, you lose weight. But if,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, knowing is doing, we're getting about that time of the year that people are starting to uh, ease off of their New Year's resolutions, and
Oh,
the
yeah, yeah.
gym will start to get vacant again,
Mm,
or not
yeah,
as crowded again. But exactly, people know what to do. That's the simple part of it, but it's not easy to always do that.
that's correct.
You know,
Takes discipline. Takes discipline and commitment, and everybody can do it. We just need to start out small and build up from there.
yep, small steps are definitely the key. So, in
Hmm.
summary, there's
Yes.
the three things that you can do to actually help build your team performance and have them help work together a little bit better and grow your company profits. Number one, set the example by respecting others
Yes.
and be genuine and sincere in that respect and care for others.
Yes.
The second
Absolutely.
one is praise your people on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
So praise pays, as you said.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And to be able to help you with that, look at the TAP acronym. What are some things that they own, driver, wear?
Yeah.
What are some of the achievements that they've
Mm-hmm.
maybe done? Or what are some personal qualities, traits, characters, talents that they have that
Yes.
may be good to do? So there's
Mm-hmm.
always ways to find something to compliment somebody on sincerely,
Yeah.
because that's part of the next formula. Be
Mm-hmm.
sincere, show some evidence,
Yes.
and then keep it short. And
There
then
you
the
go.
third one is to get the best of your team is to never criticize your employees or managers in public. Same thing.
Mm-hmm.
All three that we know, sometimes easier said than done. So
Mm.
small steps to get into the habit. Just pick one and make a goal and tell yourself you're going to do one
That's
of
it.
these
That's the
every
idea.
single day. So any of that last words for our listeners, Tom?
How about this? Inch by inch is a cinch. So take these ideas we're suggesting and just try them out a little bit at a time. And before you know it, you'll be yards and yards ahead of your competition.
Sounds great. Three proven methods to help your team work better together. So that's it for Business Smarts Radio for this episode with Tom and Dr. Dave, bringing you the clean approach to building your successful business. And we will see you in the next episode. Take care.